Johnny Lauder, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So, first off, did you ever think this was going to go as viral as it did?
No. This wasn't even meant to be put out. This was videos and pictures I was sending to the family to let them know I was okay and how far I was from grandma's house.
And I want to start before we talk a little further with showing some of that. So, take a look.
We're looking at 4 feet of water, and I've been swimming forever. Oh my God. We're arriving to grandma's. Or I'm arriving to grandma's. I don't know what time it is, 3:41. All right. Love everybody. Status update for the family. It's now 6:30. It's the aftermath of Ian with my mom. I got her up on the table, wrapped up so she doesn't go into hypothermia. She only has one leg, so it's going to be very difficult trying to get out of here. You can see the water outside is still up to the window. Better look from that side. You can see it's up to the window. Just waiting for it to get down more. It was up to the table where she's at. She basically lost everything. I live closer to the water, so I know everything is gone as well. The main thing is we're safe, so yay, Florida life. 6:10, we're now leaving. Pushing a wheelchair, half deep water. Yeah, that's done. We have a little bit of a trek ahead of us, but we'll try to get somewhere safe.
So, Johnny, walk me through the rescue, how it all happened, and what led to you going over there to rescue your mom.
What had happened is we knew the storm was coming. I have an 84-year-old mother who's extremely stubborn, to put it lightly. She's in a wheelchair. She only has one leg. She has this bad skin condition where she has open sores, about 80% of her body. She basically said she wouldn't evacuate, and she'd fight me kicking and screaming, and she didn't want me or any of my sons over at her house. I have a 20-year-old son at home, and then I have a 26-year-old son who lives about 4 blocks from my house. And then 4 blocks from his house, about a half mile, is where my mom resides. So my boys are like me. We weren't going to leave grandma behind. We wanted to evacuate, but since she wasn't going, we're not going. So I went to my oldest son's house, and I stayed with him and his girlfriend and my youngest son. And that was basically where we kind of set up base camp. So if something was to go wrong, at least I'm halfway to her house. Now, because of prior hurricanes, I got about a foot in my house before. My mother only got about 6 inches. So we weren't expecting it to be as big as it was. So we were watching TV, ironically, when my youngest son yells out, "The water's here." We look out the window, and there's about 3 feet at that time outside the window. And the sliding glass doors in the patio, we moved the curtains, and we had about 6 inches of water, which rapidly grew to about 2.5 feet within not even 5 minutes. My youngest was on the phone the whole time with my mom, giving me status updates. She reported it was at her ankle, then it was at the bottom of her chair. And once it hit the belly button, I knew that was it. We're running out of time. So I made sure the kids were safe first. They're not kids, but made sure they were safe. There was an attic scuttle inside one of the closets in one of his bedrooms. So we put my 2 sons, his girlfriend, a rabbit, a bird, and a very fat cat with provisions, batteries, phones, everything, food, and a way to chop through the roof if necessary into the attic. As soon as I saw the last leg was going up in there, I dove out the window and started the trek to my mom's house. When I got out the window, the water was up to my sternum, so probably about 4 feet of water, 4.5 feet. My mom's house is roughly a half mile from my son's house, so I had to make maybe a quarter of a block to her street, and then from there was a straight shot down to her house. When I made it out to the driveway, I just snapped a picture of the cars. It was already up to the windows and rising fast. The street in front of my son's house, it did have a current. A work van, I guess you would call, like a big white van, was kind of floating past me. So I got to the corner, and it was my mom's street. That's where the water was coming from the Gulf, coming towards us. I knew the dangers going in. I mean, I could have been taken by the current. I could have had debris hit me, power lines in the water. But it's mom, And my phone, my Apple Watch, everything's just going off. Now I got family texting and texting me and texting me, "Are you guys okay?" And now I have my kids in the attic also wondering, am I alive and how far I am from grandma? So my hands are wet. I can't text. I had my phone in my shoulder pocket, and every chance that I got, between the kicking and the pushing and trying to make my way through, I would catch my breath, take a selfie, send it to them, take a picture of the street where I'm at because they're familiar with the area and they would know how far I am from grandma's to let her know, how far I am. Put the phone away and then trek on. It was pretty miraculous, and I would have to say it's divine intervention. But halfway to my mom's, I was pretty exhausted, and I'm looking up at the bells on the power lines, and they're all arcing and sparking. So of course I'm trying to see if there's a hum or buzz in the water or something if I'm getting too close. And I took a snapshot of the street, and as I look up to look at the sparks and I look back down, not even a minute later, a knee board magically appears in front of me. There was nothing on the street, and this knee board appears, and it made it so much easier to cut through the water with the knee board. As I approached my mom's house, it was this overwhelming sensation of terror and relief at the same time because I could hear her screaming. Terror because I didn't know if something had fallen on her or she was hurt, but then relief knowing that she still had air in her lungs and I wasn't too late. Went to the front door, couldn't open the door with the pressure of the water, went around to the back of her house, got the kitchen window out, and that's when I saw the water was up to her chest, chin. And if I'd have been 30 minutes later, it might have been a whole different type of interview. But snapped that picture immediately. She was in joy. I know it looks kind of terrifying in the picture, but she was just so happy to see me. She was smiling. She doesn't have teeth, but trust me, she was smiling. And I knew it wasn't over. So I sent the picture to the kids so they would be fine and know that grandma's okay. Jumped into the window. Again, like I said, she has a skin condition. So I know that bacteria-ridden water wouldn't be good. She was shivering like a chihuahua. So from past experience and training, I know I had, get her out of the water because hypothermia is going to start kicking in. So I scurried through her house. I found a small table, stacked the kitchen table on top of that table. The only thing dry in the whole house was a pair of sheets that I found on one of her shelves in her closet. As I'm approaching her with the sheets, she's like, "No, not those. Those are my good sheets." But I said, "We don't have time for that. Those are your only sheets." So I wrapped her up, kept her warm, gave her some peanut butter and jelly that I could find. Everything's floating around us from the refrigerator to beds to sofa. It was just surreal. We waited for, I know I said the times as I'm approaching, it's in the videos, it was probably about 3 hours. We waited for the water to subside. It got up to her window, and thank God after that, it just started going down. If it would have gotten higher, I would have held her head treading water for as long as I had to. But when the water got about halfway down, my youngest son, who's 20, he knew to come. It was going to be still dangerous, but not as dangerous. He made his way to the house to help me get her out because of all the debris and everything and the obstacles with her wheelchair. We got her out of the house, back in her chair, and outside it was probably, I would say, up to our thighs and her waist, sometimes a little lower in her courtyard. But once we got to the street, there were areas where it was up to her chest in water. When we made it to the street, I kind of made a quick little snippet video saying, we're done and we're taking grandma, getting her out of there somewhere safe. And then we made the trek back, which was longer than the way to my son's house because we passed my son's street and I was trying to get to a hotel that I knew had dry ground. One of my mom's neighbors is an elderly Haitian woman, which my Creole is not the greatest, but I understood arthritis. She could barely walk and she had all her belongings in a garbage bag. So after I snapped that video, I basically put my phone away, put her over one shoulder and put her bag on the other while my son pushed my mom. Once we got to the hotel, I knew the lady said she had a son that lived not in town. I said, "Call your son, let him know you're okay." I tried to put my mother inside the hotel just in the lobby to warm up. And the clerk said, "Sorry, there's no rooms available and you got to get her out of here." So then it was take mom back to my son's house. We got back to my oldest son's house, and fortunately, they only had about a foot and a half of water get into the house. The doors and everything held up pretty well. And once we got her home, we realized we had to get that water off of her. But since she's in a wheelchair, we can't. She has one leg. We can't get her in the tub. So we had to make the trek back to my mom's to get her special bench that she uses to bathe herself. And that's when we saw it was absolutely disgusting and gut wrenching, the inside of the house. We brought her bench back, had her wash up just to make sure she's okay because of the open wounds and sores. That's when the next day we put on a soggy couch, and we at least had power and food that was still in the refrigerator. But the next day, my son found out that we were on a boil notice, which we didn't know because we weren't getting alerts the day of. So we weren't sure if that water was good. It was compromised. So we called the EMS. Paramedics came out, took her to the hospital, and unfortunately, we were right. She got bacterial infections in a lot of the wounds, but they treated her. She's at a rehabilitation center right now. She's in a warm bed. She's happy to be here. She's making friends everywhere. We're just very, very, very fortunate. Very fortunate.
What were you thinking as you're going on this trip? You see just how high the water is. You get close to your mom's house and the water is getting high. What's going through your mind at that point before you see your mom? And then when you do see her and you see that she's alive?
I'm not going to lie if I say I wasn't nervous. But I've been in a lot of stressful situations in my life, running and risking everything to help somebody, but it's a little different when it's your mom. You try to push everything out of your mind. If you think about something and you hesitate, you lose, you get off focus, you can hurt yourself, and then you're no good to the person you're trying to help. So even though it was my mom, I was trying to think it wasn't my mom, but it was 21-year-old Johnny at the driver's seat, but 50-year-old Johnny was in the back seat whispering in my ear, and I had to tie him up and just ignore him and just push forward. Yeah, it's after the fact. That now it sets in. And when I look at the picture, when I think about it, my eyes start to sweat. I start to feel like, oh man, things could have been really bad. And then I think about all the people who lost lives in the storm. And then, that's when it really kicks in, after the fact. During I tried to push it to the side, but there were times where I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to get there in time. Or what if I don't make it? And now now my kids are going to be minus a grandma and minus a dad. So, but you just can't think about that. You gotta push forward.
For sure. And I know you told me you documented it really because you were trying to make sure that your family knew that you were okay. You weren't documenting it because you thought someone's going to watch this later, right?
No, I had no idea. The family members in Miami, my sister-in-law, they all got the videos and stuff and saw that we were okay. And finally, when we had a little bit of cell service, everybody's calling, but she started a GoFundMe for us, and she put it on her Facebook, and somehow this just exploded where everybody wanted to talk to me. And I'm like, I'm just a boy who went to go help his mom, I mean, who wouldn't do that for their mom? I do it for your mom. I do it for anybody else's mom, but I prefer not to have to. So she's going to evacuate next time, whether she likes it or not, but she's changed her tone. She realizes to not risk other people's lives just for her life. So, but yeah, we had no idea, no intention this was going to get the way it got. So I didn't want to tell a story, but a lot of people told me that, with this world of sad and bad happening right now, sometimes, a happy ending is what's needed. And at the same time, if anybody can take away anything from my story, is Mother Nature is a beautiful, cruel, and unforgiving woman, and we do not need to take her lightly. And, the signs are there. Hurricane, we have days, to evacuate and prepare. And if, I'd rather see people come back and cry over everything that they lost than have their loved ones come down and cry over the loved ones they lost. So we lost everything. My mom lost everything. My son lost furniture, but we got each other. I haven't lost my job. I haven't lost my family, and I haven't lost hope. So, it's like a computer. It has two buttons. You have a power and a reset. It's just my reset button that got hit. Well, we just pick ourselves up and those around us and move forward. So we'll get through this.
And like you said there, you hear a lot of stories that don't have the happiest of endings. Thankfully, this one does. And that's why, we definitely wanted to share it there. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Is there anything else that you want to add at all?
No, I can't think of anything other than if when any storm or anything's happening, take the necessary precautions, get your loved ones out. If I have to tie her up and carry her out of her house, the next time I will. But I love that right now. It breaks me up, and been thinking about it. The amount of people and outpouring of support that I've gotten through this thing that from people that I don't even know. Really chokes me up, you know. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And the way the community's been, and it's a shame that it takes a natural disaster for us all to come together like this. And if we could just do this every day and be like this world will be a better place.